الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استووا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم والله غفور رحيم. قل أطيعوا الله والرسول فإن تولوا فإن الله لا يحب الكافرين. إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين ذرية بعضها من بعض والله سميع عليم. إذ قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم. فلما وضعتها قالت رب إني وضعتها أنثى والله أعلم بما وضعت وليس الذكر كالأنثى وإني سميتها مريم وإني أعيذها بك وذريتها من الشيطان الرجيم. فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا. كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. هنالك دعا زكريا ربه قال رب هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء. فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وسيدا وحصورا ونبيا من الصالحين. قال رب أنى يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر. قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. قال رب اجعل لي آية. قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وإذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين يا مريم اقنتي لربك واسجدي واركعي مع الراكعين ذلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيه إليك وما كنت لديهم إذ يلقون أقلامهم أيهم يكفل مريم وما كنت لديهم إذ يختصمون إذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله يبشرك بكلمة منه اسمه المسيح عيسى بن مريم وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين ويكلم الناس في المهد وكهلا ومن الصالحين قالت رب أنى يكون لي ولد ولم يمسسني بشر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون ويعلمه الكتاب والحكمة والتوراة والإنجيل ورسولا إلى بني إسرائيل أني قد جئتكم بآية من ربكم أني أخلق لكم من الطين كهيئة الطير فأنفخ فيه فيكون طيرا بإذن الله وأبرئ الأكمه والأبرص وأحيي الموتى بإذن الله وأنبئكم بما تأكلون وما تدخرون في بيوتكم إن في ذلك لآية لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين ومصدقا لما بين يدي من التوراة ولأحل لكم بعض الذي حرم عليكم وجئتكم بآية من ربكم فاتقوا الله وأطيعون إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أصبحنا على فطرة الإسلام، على كلمة الإخلاص، على دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. Bismillah. Last night, I had a little discussion with our president, and I felt it was very important that I share a few words with you this morning, and so I would appreciate a little bit of your time.
MashaAllah, you spoke with Joe Biden.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. What is it? Say again, I'm sorry. Okay. Barakallahu feek. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has created mankind from a nutfa. And from that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it the two faculties of hearing and seeing. When we were studying embryology many years ago, when we would look at the images, and as it develops, subhanAllah, you see so many miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that creation. And there's one other thing that, that you see the sight, you see the eyes developing, you see the ears developing. There's also one other thing that also develops, which is of interest, which is the spine. Okay, and the taxonomists, many of you who have studied from back in elementary school, they use this as a means of classification. That they look at the spine, those organisms, they look at all the creation, and they say that there's the vertebrates and the invertebrates. Those organisms that actually have a spine and those that do not. And as you know, this is actually very symbolic. We think of, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to reflect upon the signs, in the afaq, in the cosmos, in the sky, but also within ourselves, right? And when we reflect on this, it's very symbolic. The fact that those organisms that actually have a spine versus those that don't. You look at, actually just this morning, I had to jump over a little slug. You walk across, and these organisms that don't have a spine, you see their state, and then those that have a spine. And we even in our language, we even say to one another that the person doesn't have a backbone. This is a very, very common statement that we make when we converse with one another. We're living in very, very difficult times, and a lot of fitna. There's so much darkness that there's so many khatibs and ulama that are advising us. And of course, what best to advise us with than the Quran and Sunnah, that in these times what we should be doing. And I find this hadith that I'm sure you all are familiar with, and we hear it over and over again. And I'd just like to just quote this just prior to me sharing this information that Brother Azad just alluded to. No, I did not speak with Biden, but Tha'ban radiallahu anh, he narrates on the authority of Sunan and Abu Dawood that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there's going to be a time that it's going to come upon our ummah, and the people, your enemies, will be invited to as if they're invited to eat a feast. And whenever I look at these hadith and I reflect, that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam always uses terminology that is like he speaks our language, and in our community, and just witnessing what we, in this Ramadan, and you and I, we witnessed this, that food is something that really is our language of the time. We see how difficult it was. Our president was making so many announcements just for people to pray their sunnah prior to actually embarking on that meal after iftar. Was such a difficult task. But Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's speaking our language because this is our time. And he says, your enemies are going to come to a feast, and and they're going to embark on this meal. And they're going to have, they're going to have a field day. One is going to just say, one is going to take the leg, one is going to take the arm, and they're going to devour us. And the Sahaba were really just surprised at this, and they said, how could this be? That is it that we're going to be so few in number? And to this, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam responds, and he says, no, bal antum yawma idhin kathir. No, on that day, you're going to be so many. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءٌ كَغُثَاءِ السَّيْلِ. And subhanAllah, this is such an interesting, word to me. Sail, on that day, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, giving this prophecy that, you're going to be like sail. You're going to be so many, but you're going to be like this. And it's translated in many different ways. It's the floodwaters, the foam on the floodwaters, and things like that. But I want you to sort of imagine this. When the flood goes through, it carries all the rubbish, all the debris. And what happens after a time, that debris actually goes to the surface. And when you look at that water, that flood water, you could, when you're looking at it, it looks like land. You think that you can just like walk on it. But of course, it's water. So when you go to walk on it, you sink right in. So the analogy at this time is that you're going to be like this flood water with almost like no backbone. You're gonna think that you are millions of Muslims, but there's no substance, nothing nothing to say that, hey, these are people who are worthy of anything. They don't have a backbone. And the first time that I heard this in regards to the Muslims, some years back, I was invited to a fundraiser, and it was actually from the Obama administration. There was this gentleman who was involved with that, and he was really, he was more of an advocate. He was actually selected to represent the Muslims for the Obama administration, okay? And so he was a Christian, and he was actually running a campaign in DC for the position of mayor, I think, over there. And the Muslims were there, and he got up and he said, you Muslims, you guys have a lot of money, God has, really given you so much. But one thing I've noticed working with you all for so many years is that you all don't have a backbone. I was shocked. I said, what do you, and he was alluding to, he said, the Jews, they would have never allowed me to represent them. They would say, no, it has to be one of us. This is the Yahud, you're going to say no. And the other thing is that whatever they ask for, they're going to make sure that they get it. Then the Muslims, whenever they ask for something in the beginning, it frivels down to nothing. And they said, "Oh, we've noticed this about you all. That you guys don't really have a backbone." And subhanAllah, now getting back to, of course, I don't want to, I'm taking too much of your time. I'm sorry. Yesterday, there was a meeting, and and the Muslims are, of course, very, very concerned about the situation. We're in the primaries right now, and soon there's going to be an election for the president, and obviously of many of the choices. And topic of politics, I don't have much knowledge on it at all. You all are probably more knowledgeable on the subject than I. But I'm just bringing this up as a means of, like, at least discussion, or for us, a springboard for the community to start thinking along this line, that we have to actually do something. Keith Ellison addressed us yesterday, and as many of you know, he was the first representative in Congress that was Muslim. And now he's actually serving as the Attorney General in Minnesota. And actually, if you know about that, Floyd's case, he was the one who was the head prosecutor, and he's the one who actually got a guilty plea. And mashallah, I mean, he's a Muslim representative who's been doing so much, and so he addressed us, and he said, there's three choices really we have, to make, come this election. One, and I have to be very careful. I know this is a 501c3 organization. We can't. We're not here. I'm not here to endorse one or any particular candidate. I'm not telling you what to do. This is just food for thought. And he said, one option is that you don't participate in the election. You're like, oh, it's all bad. So why even participate, right? And he said, mark my words, all of the all of the those who are running are counting on the Muslims to do this, for you to just stay home and not do anything. This is what they're counting on. And he even alluded to his background when he was running. So many Muslim brothers came to him and said, it's haram for us to even vote. You already know the whole ordeal. So anyway, so he said, this is one thing that they're counting on. He said the other option that we have is which is to pick the lesser of the two evils, or so. But in the whole discussion in this meeting, they said the landscape, of course, is changing. And this one brother who was a human activist, Brother Ahmed, he is from Minnesota as well, and his PhD thesis and everything was like along that line of like the human rights in Palestine. He spent like 2 years there, studying everything that was going on there, 2022 to 2023. And then he ended up being picked up by the IDF and then thrown in prison, tortured. And then from that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still saved him, that he was able to come back, and he's working on this campaign. And the campaign is Abandon Biden campaign. So what they're advocating for, this is another option, is that in these primaries, that you at least, when you fill out the ballot, you say, you either leave it blank, or in our state, you say uncommitted. This will give them a good idea of how many people are, completely upset with the Biden administration, and especially us being in a blue state. This will, and they're already looking at this numbers, and many of them are very, very concerned, from the Biden administration and even the Trump administration, on these Muslims, do they actually have a voice or not? Just now in New York, they had the primaries. 12% of the voters followed this campaign and left it blank, and they were shocked that this many voters are completely upset and not willing to give their vote to Biden. In Michigan, our brothers and sisters were able to get 100,000 votes or ballots where they left it blank. In their state, there's no uncommitted options. So they were able to get 100,000 of their voters to leave it blank. This sent them a huge, their eyebrows were raising, and their eyes are opening. And they're shocked that the Muslims are able to do this. Right now, we're upon the primaries here in Maryland. And, this campaign is stating that, we should consider, marking your ballot, but uncommitted. And then this will send them a major, eye-opening, of what the Muslims are capable of doing. Okay, and this is my main point, that we as Muslims, the saying is like, you miss all the 100% of the shots that you don't take. Right? I mean, and we are, end up being our own worst enemy, because we just talk ourselves into not doing anything. But the thing is that there are options, that we can do. We can send them a message through this format. I know there's discussion. Some people are passionate about so many different things. I know, you all are much more wise than I on this subject. But I just wanted to share this with you, because I think this is food for thought, inshallah. Anyway, jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
I know many people here may be familiar with the brother Sunni Haroon.
Oh yes, he also. But he said to vote for Trump, right?
Basically, he said something that was very interesting. He said, and I want everybody to hear this. Inshallah, I just want everybody to hear. Hamdi said was that if you don't make the people, these politicians, pay for what they do, they're going to say that, the Muslims, they vote for us, but then when we go and kill them, 30,000, 100,000, whatever, in the end, if they're going to come back,